So Zuhair, Zest Equity has had quite a journey. I remember Zest Equity a few years ago when I was thinking about my startup, where I had a very heavy cap table, wanted to trim it down, came across Zest Equity, but I believe a lot has changed since then. We were looking at secondary markets then, but now you're into alternative markets, digital infrastructure, and much more. So would love to hear the journey so far.
Yeah, definitely. Where do I start? Listen, the original premise of what we were trying to solve for was, and it's not what we do today, the original and only premise of what we were trying to solve for was creating liquidity in private markets.
Okay.
More specifically back then, VC. Okay, it came out of a need for me. I had recently left my role co-running a tourism-based fund that we launched before COVID and shut down during COVID. And so I was looking to buy myself some time and thought, well, some liquidity from my angel tickets would be helpful, right? That's when I started to talk to my co-founder, Rawan, who is my friend since the 5th grade, right?
Yes, right.
And it's and we discussed the topic, and we thought, yeah, this is a great thing to chase. Obviously, I think every ex-banker or someone in M&A would think this is also a great topic to chase, and it is. It's just a really hard problem to solve. And so that's the premise that we had started on, was creating liquidity in VC, right? But we very quickly realized, after we sort of built this MVP and the sort of legal infrastructure to marry with this MVP, is that the market, not that it wasn't ready, is that we actually need to build more infrastructure before you're able to enable liquidity, right? And liquidity, I don't think will be in the form of, and it is not in the West, in the form of buying and selling shares like as if you're on the stock exchange. No, right? But just at least enabling liquidity events. And so what started out as this marketplace idea very quickly evolved into enabling our clients to digitize their transactions and group their participants to execute their pre-agreed deal digitally, and it's, you know, the value add from that is that if you wanted to do something like this alone, if you're a founder raising, and that's the simplest example here, but you could be a fund, you could be a large corporate, but if you're a founder raising from your friends and family, if you wanted to group them into a legal vehicle, you would have to go to a lawyer. You would have to go to a KYC provider. You would have to open a bank account. You would have to also lead the transaction and deal and run your business, right?
Yes.
And amongst other things, right? Annual filings and requirements and so on and so forth. What Zest does is that brings that all together, except running your business under one roof, right? And enables you to execute or digitize this pre-agreed transaction with the many participants that you have privately. In a turnkey solution. And so that's how we evolved from the idea of secondary marketplace, which never really kind of launched or took off per se, although we spoke a lot about it, through to this today digital infrastructure, and the first product is this vehicle or SPV infrastructure. To now our vision being, well, actually we're shaping the future of private markets, and we're building the pipes for private market transactions to take place. And we see that up to deals worth up to $100 million, these are underserved in our markets today. And there's a lot of low-hanging fruit where we could go and help clientele in digitizing processes and obviously taking away manual work so that they can focus on executing their deal, whilst, you know, populating a document can be digitized, or providing the funding rails in a compliant manner can be provided. And so there's a lot there in the private market space that we could solve for. And so that's where our vision is, right? We're a digital first compliant private market solutions platform whereby our clients can step into our ecosystem, select the services that they want, and press play and execute their deal, no matter how complex.
Yeah, correct. And just to understand this a bit further, the end customer profile, has that also evolved with the product?
Yeah, it's funny because again, we started by saying in the VC space.
Yes.
Right. And whilst yes, we've built a lot of our track record there, our customer base or our client base has expanded beyond that, right? We've got obviously founders, but then we also have fund managers.
Okay.
We have entities or businesses. We have family offices. We can serve anyone and everyone, and we can digitize processes for, in the range of $1 to $20 million we've seen. Obviously, we can go larger. But when you automate, you have to standardize. And when you standardize, you can't do a bespoke deal. And that's why we say beyond the $100 million mark, you have bespoke bankers, lawyers, and so on and so forth.
So this has also increased your ceiling for the market size?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really how Stripe is for payments, Zest is for private market transactions, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool line.
Yeah, I learned it recently, so I'm going to keep using it.
Tagline.
Good. Yeah.
That's the tagline.
It's like when everyone was like, it's the Uber for.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the Netflix of,
Yeah.
So you guys raised $3.8 million in your seed round.
Mm-hmm.
That's not typical. That's quite incredible. How'd you do that?
I mean, if I'm honest, I think it's more or less in line with what you see for this region.
Okay.
Because the cost to PMF is relatively high, especially in a financially, like in something, in the space that we're running in, right, in fintech.
Right.
Now, we were in the right place at the right time to attract the right people to be able to execute on a $3.8 million seed round.
Interesting.
Okay. There was no secret sauce. It was a lot of hard work, right?
Yes.
You start your fundraising journey by having a list of targets. We've had people from our pre-seed. We reached out to them as well. We had also test clients of the platform who reached out to as well. Those were funds as well, right?
Okay.
And so we cast a wide net, and we sent out the initial kind of, hey, are you interested? And then we started to get some replies, but some not. And then you follow up, and you follow up, and you follow up, and then that funnel goes from a large funnel all the way to the 3 or 4 investors that you land on.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's where you complete the transaction.
So there's a lot of groundwork before the round even starts.
Absolutely, you have to be prepared, right? And there were some learnings there for our pre-A, right? To be announced soon. But I think keeping momentum is very, very important. Back then the preparation was, you need to have your data room ready, right?
Yes.
You need to have your numbers correct. You need to know your numbers as well, right? Your deck, you need to have a 5-minute, 10-minute, 30-minute, 1-hour pitch as well, right?
1 hour.
And you need to know who your, well, not 1 hour pitch, but DD session.
Sure.
And it took a lot of time, more time than I would have wanted to close that first deal. Part in fault because, so it took us about, I would say from the term sheet to closing was 6-7 months.
From term sheet to closing?
From term sheet to closing.
Wow.
Yeah. It took a long time. Yeah. And in part, there was summer in between, kind of things slowed down. Okay, so take out a month.
Yes.
Right?
People listening outside the region won't get that.
No.
Summer? So what?
Yeah, exactly. But also in part, I came from a very heavy M&A background where the deals I was doing would take 12 to 18 months. But these are mega deals, right? $250 million and above.
Got it.
So coming into this, I came with that mindset.
Yeah.
I was really wrong, right? And so instead of, and we worked towards it, and obviously we pushed towards the finish line, but we didn't keep the momentum per se, but also for some reason we were a bit more relaxed than we should have been. right?
Okay.
It took some time, and also obviously you would negotiate, and
You can't
as a
rush.
first-time founder, you want to negotiate, but also what is your negotiating
There's no
power?
bargaining power in the
Is there a
start,
bargaining
yeah.
power? And you think maybe as a first-time founder, you think no, I don't. But what I learned is that no, you really do. Okay, it's just you really do, and in
and
a
it's
sense,
easier in the seed round than the pre-A, because usually with what I understand is the seed round you have limited information,
yeah,
and you're then perhaps extrapolating the market size, revenue.
sure. Yeah, and I think in the pre-seed there's a bit more ambiguity, and so
Yes.
you can sell the vision more.
Yeah.
Seed is a balance,
Yes.
and then you go into the A and the B, and then you show your track record.
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay.
True.
But when you hold the vision, you're really confident in your product. It comes across.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, and also if you think that a certain term is not suitable to you, say no,
Yeah.
and you'll get respect. Okay.
Okay.
And it's not like the VC will run away. They'll negotiate.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so when I say you really do have power, you really do have the ability to say no and see what happens.
How did you learn that? Was there an experience that taught you that?
I have the best legal counsel I can wish for.
Okay.
Okay. But also I learned that through that 8-month process. Okay. Because and there were some topics in this negotiation, and mind you, by the way, a seed round should not take this long.
Yes.
Okay. And also you should focus on launching the business, right?
Right.
Which is
Because it distracts you at a certain point.
it does, but you need it. Right?
Yes.
And so we what do you say? We dug our heels in the grass, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And said no, right? And so some of the things I thought, they wouldn't give up. We're giving up, you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and that taught me a lot, right? That taught me a lot.
Everything's negotiable, right?
Everything is negotiable.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the beauty is if you're aligned with the counterpart or with your new partner, that you're in this for a partnership,
Yeah.
then nothing else matters.
Yeah.
Right? And so taking a long time to negotiate this or to close this, let's put it, right?
Yes.
And let's say you need to buy also another 1 or 2 months to do your structuring and all of this stuff, right? It takes time. Just knowing that the partner that you're partnering with is the right one will just keep you both aligned throughout that journey. And that's what we had, at least, right?
Nice.
Okay.
And so that was really helpful.